Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Major League Gaming StarCraft 2 tournament here in Anaheim, California. I'm Nathanius. With me is Rotterdam, and we have a cool Terran versus Zerg series coming up.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be RagnaroK versus Polt. And I just had the pleasure of casting RagnaroK on the B stream. He played some really solid ZVZ versus Hyun. I was like, wow, starts off strong, defeating Hyun 2-0 in a ZVZ. That's not an easy feat. But he actually lost his second series against Scarlet. So that's really good news for her and all the Scarlet fans out there. However, Polt looking very strong so far in this group, Nate.
Yeah, Polt has, he's pretty much been dominating his group so far, looking quite strong going into the upper bracket of the championship match, and our players are ready, so we won't delay this game too long. I'm excited. Polt's got some cool Terran versus Zerg, but can RagnaroK continue to make a couple cool upsets? His match versus Hyun was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was really solid. He made all the correct calls. I think if I had Fog of War turned off, I wouldn't really have made any better decisions than RagnaroK did. So he has shown us that he's definitely capable of messing with the best. However, we've seen so much of Polt's TVZ lately, and I wouldn't even say, despite all the losses, that it looks shaky at all. Polt's still scary as always. His splits are, up to point. His macro is phenomenal, as we know, and he's even not afraid to switch it up. He's not afraid to bust out a crazy two-base build if he feels it's the right time and place for it. So overall, I think this is going to be a really fun series. And if Polt wins this best of 3, he will be 5-0 in best of 3s. Needless to say, then he's very, very close to clinching one of the upper 2 seats in this group.
Yeah, he's trying to make a run towards getting his second MLG Anaheim victory in a row. Of course, he is our red Terran player. In the bottom left position of Frost from CM Storm, it's Polt. One of the scariest players in this tournament for sure. His opponent, probably lesser known, but still a force to be reckoned with, Roddy. It is RagnaroK.
Did you really have to do that, Nate? Is this you saying that you want to replace me with the soundboard? Because if that's the case, we can make that happen.
I own the license to that. They had to pay me for that one.
As you can see, Overlords are heading in both directions. RagnaroK will find Polt almost immediately in the left bottom side of the map. And so far, everything is looking very standard for Polt. No refinery yet, but he can still drop it down on 13 supply and open up with the Reaper that we all know that he likes and loves so much.
Yeah, it's just a standard way to play on this map. And, we talk about Polt. Of course, he's one of the greatest players in StarCraft 2 right now. He's been dominating the American circuit. He's been dominating the American tournaments that we've had. And RagnaroK, as a lesser-known player, he's still been around for quite some time. He was, I believe, either one of the B team players or the practice partners for TSL, Polt's former team and also Hyun's former team. So these guys know each other. And even though RagnaroK hasn't had any big success himself, he's been a consistent practice partner, I know, for a lot of high-level Korean players.
Yeah, it's really funny you mentioned that, because a super long time ago, when TSL was still around, I actually thought that RagnaroK was like an alternate ID for either Hyun or Revival. So later on, it was like, wow, RagnaroK is actually a player today, I learned. But later on, we've learned that he's a very good player even. However, he definitely has his work cut out for him in this series, going up against Polt. I don't think Polt has played as many competitive TVZs as he did in the last 5 days in a very long time, as he just keeps playing this matchup over and over again. Like we said, definitely struggled a little bit against Scarlet, but Scarlet, her ZVT, is one of the best out there. I would almost say even perhaps the best out there. It's absolutely insane how well she's playing the matchup currently, so it's been great practice for Polt regardless.
Yeah, and Polt, like you said though, he's still doing very well in his group. He's managed to win where it counts against Scarlet, at least in this tournament, so he's looking to get that upper bracket seed there for the championship bracket moving into the third day. And that's really important. It saves you a lot of potential games that you'd have to play against and keeps the odds of elimination away. And it guarantees you a top 6 finish in the tournament. So Reaper comes in. Polt's just going to try to get a little bit of damage done, but RagnaroK's drone is quite close. Okay, saves it. Now, of course, the Zergling's going to try to push these away for as long as possible.
I really like how Polt was doing that. You see how the Reaper was almost standing on top of the drone. Makes it a lot harder to micro and save your drones, because if you try to morph it into a Spore Crawler, it might actually get blocked by the Reaper. And above all, when the shots are that close, it's really hard to keep track on when the Reaper is going to shoot again. It's just a little easier to see when the unit is further away. It's going to be a three-peat Reaper opening, a triple Reaper opening over here in the start of the game for Polt. Follows it up with the factory. So far, everything's standard. Polt going a little bit back to his roots. There's definitely a chance that some of the strategies that he displayed against Scarlet are not necessarily builds he's going to use now, as RagnaroK is, of course, a different player with different strengths and weaknesses than Scarlet.
Yeah, one thing that I feel like is a big characteristic of all the Zerg players that were on TSL, you look at players like Revival, Hyun, They like getting aggressive in the early game if they can. In this matchup in particular, we've seen lots of cool Roach builds out of both Kyun and Revival. And I'm wondering if RagnaroK wants to stick to that same style, as he is going to get Zergling speed.
Wow, that one queen is extremely low in HP. Polt is doing a really good job so far in pushing out as much damage as possible. One queen very low in HP, the other queen has no energy. As soon as these Reapers regenerate, this could actually be very frustrating to deal with for a little bit for our Zerg play. This queen is going to take damage now. The other queen is already very low in HP. I really think that this might be a window of opportunity for Polt to pick off, but he does know, Polt always knows, when speed is about to finish up, and he decides not to take any risk in case RagnaroK would decide to make 12, 16 Zerglings. These Reapers could get surrounded, so Polt decides to actually send the Reapers home. Doesn't get the queen, came close though.
Yeah, and behind all of this, the Overlord for RagnaroK was able to get a reasonable scout off. He will put up the Roach Horn. He saw the Hellions coming out of the factory, saw the Tech Lab on the barracks and the Starport, and this could look like Polt's standard Viking opening, which we've seen time and time again, but he did add on a second barracks behind his main base. The Overlord did not spot this. The extra Marine or two that Polt can make out of this as he does this harass when he scouts the Roaches coming, this can help him get just a little bit more defensive if he scouts the Roach attack coming in time.
We'll probably fire up Stim pretty much immediately as well, right? At least that's what I'm expecting. Yeah, there we go. Fires up Stim right now as soon as he had access to 100 gas. This could still be a very scary follow-up timing by Polt, and this could be very frustrating to deal with, especially as soon as that Viper is going to usher these Overlords out, as Polt always does. And actually quite a few Overlords out there. And suddenly I hear myself very loud. Wow, that is enlightening.
It's your passion exploding, right? It's all good.
Not yet. We're saving it for Championship Sunday, Nate.
All right, well, the reactor's on the way for the Starport, but, you know, RagnaroK, much like Kyun, loves his Overlord speed upgrade, and with it, might be able to see this reactor if he can spot it. I think he sees it. Okay, so this is really important. It kind of begs for the very fast medevac play, which doesn't necessarily have to be Hellbats, but, well, we've seen a lot of Hellbats this weekend, Roddy.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure that we're still going to see a lot of additional Hellbats as well. But the armory is not ready yet, so it's going to take a little while before we will see that. There are a few Roaches out on the map for RagnaroK. So far, the style that RagnaroK is showing is very in line with the Zergs you mentioned earlier, Revive, Winnie. Those are just Zerg brothers for life, man. Live together, die together. That's what we do.
That's how they roll. And Polt's going to see these Roaches, and I think Polt's actually going into Widowmine, so even though he's getting these fast medevacs, he's just going to stick with his small amount of bio. He's not going to go straight for Hellbats because he knows there's already a native counter to those with the Roaches on the map. So he'd rather invest into the more mobile tech because the bio can deal quite well with this. And this Viking's going to get a third kill now on this Overlord as the lair finishes up. This is not really that fast of a lair either.
And we do see that third command center being dropped. It's still a little later than we're used to seeing in this matchup, but the meta has really changed over the last few weeks, ever since a couple of things have just changed in this matchup. Double eBay going down as well behind this, but of course this isn't like nowhere near as quick as in the old days where it would be like command center into factory into another command center into double eBay. Polt is currently down 16 workers, so I do kind of feel that he wants to make something happen soon, and there are medevacs unloading units in the natural. I would love to take a look at that. There's two Widowmines there burrowed as well.
It's going to be really tricky. If he chases these forces, he could get pulled back onto the Widowmines, but so far not doing a crazy amount of damage. These Marauders are really going to town on the few Roaches that are here, though.
Yep, unfortunately, if those Widowmines would be able to shoot one more time, but they won't. There's an overseer here. So far, so good for RagnaroK. This was a really important phase in the game. The Hellions are going to swing in on the north side. They will try to get a couple of drone kills.
This is quite nice. At least, at the very least, he's denying a decent bit of mining. The Reapers are here, too. Could try to jump up and escape after this skirmish. And Polt still has his units dancing around in the natural, picking him up. Now retreating with just a single Marauder left. The 1-1 is coming in for the Roaches, though. Roach speed. RagnaroK is not just building this third base up. He's preparing to go for a very strong push. A push that we've seen time and time again. You could talk about how popular Hellbat plays are, Roddy, but this 1-1 Roach attack, this has been a staple in Zerg versus Terran over the course of the last few months.
Definitely. He is dropping the Spire and the Baneling Nest, though, so I'm a little bit confused by that, because I kind of felt if he would have gone crazy on the Roaches, there's a good chance, especially after picking up a few of these units of Polt already, that he would at least be able to keep Polt on two bases for a long time, and most likely pick up a handful of SCVs as well. But he's already getting the transitions ready. Polt's upgrades are now halfway done. It's interesting how that played out. I actually think RagnaroK handled it very well, because in the grand scheme of things, I mean, Polt killed 13 drones, and that was mostly, I guess, with the Hellions and the Reapers, but it was still not that bad. Things definitely didn't spiral out of control for RagnaroK.
No, not at all. I guess it's just RagnaroK saying he still wants to play Zergling, Baneling, Mutalisk, but he at the very least wants to, strike fear in Polt's heart of that potential large Roach attack, which has defeated many a good Terran. So these forces are going to get shoved back for now. Polt's trying to use these forces to clean up the creep spread. With these spawns, things can get pretty tricky, and yeah, that Spore's going to do a reasonable job of pushing the medevac away.
I really love Spores. They're so good in dealing with drops. It actually makes your life so much easier as a Zerg player. It's really weird how it works, but a Spore is often better defense than a Spine.
Yeah, getting rid of the medevac is the most important part. That's easily the most annoying part of these drops. And this force, a lot of Roaches making the way with that 1-1 upgrade. 1-1 is actually just about to complete for Polt. It's not there quite yet, but delays a couple of the building supply depots in this wall, trying to pick off a few units, and actually a bit of a supply block hurting Polt, as he actually needs those supply depots.
Yes, he does. Their first Mutalisk are on their way now. There is a fort base going up on the right top side of the map. There is no creep anywhere near that base, so it's really going to be quite difficult to defend this base eventually for RagnaroK. I really feel that if RagnaroK wants to keep that base alive, he's going to need spectacular creep spread in the next few minutes, because I don't really see him winning fights off creep. As soon as Polt's production really explodes, and he's going to be able to produce a lot of Marines and Marauders at the same time, I don't think that RagnaroK can win fights off creep.
Yeah, there's just the awkward transition that you have to make from this Roach opening into
Mutalisk
Zergling.
flying into Widowmines. That's one Muda, and he's not very rich.
No. The thing is, Widowmines in that instance, even if you lose the mine, it's always cost effective. It's how much gas those Mutalisks take up. So, Polt pressing forward. He does have his combat shield upgrade complete now, continuing to scan. Just wants to push the creep back. You made a good point, Roddy. Even though RagnaroK is expanding away from Polt, without that creep spread, it won't take more than just a few Marines to run and shut that base down.
Drop is also going to engage in the right top side of the map, so you will find that hatchery, but the armies are clashing in the middle of the map. So for now, Widowmines are going to need some good connections and getting reasonable connections, but Polt is going to have to retreat. But if Polt is able to cancel this fort base, that is still very good news for our Terran player.
There's such a far distance to go for RagnaroK. Not enough, and that fourth is eliminated. So Polt, he's adding on 2 factories. This is that position as a Terran player where you're going to start looking to be a little bit more aggressive, but also to get that 4th base. And if on this map you can get that 4th, the way that it's tucked back, Polt's rally is always going to be covering that forward area. So this hatchery being taken on the left side for RagnaroK is really vulnerable as well.
That last 2 minutes went just absolutely fantastic for Polt. If you would ask him what could have gone any better, I don't think he knows even. Maybe the Widowmine hit if he would have got very lucky, but he was able to push back so much creep. He's even going to get 1 Mutalisk here, gets a second one as well. Now he's running very low on Marines. Kind of missed focus firing there, but still gets another Mutalisk. But he was able to kill the fort base, and he pushed the creep so far back. Now all of these Banelings and Zerglings are going to have to roll off creep. Polt should definitely pick up his units here and just get out of here. Leaves the Marauder behind to soak up a couple of these Banelings. Cute play by Polt.
He's trying to be a hero, Roddy.
Yeah,
this is still a large amount of Banelings outside of Polt's 3rd base. It's a very widespread open area with no creep. Marines stepping back. The Marauders are left up front, but there looks like it could be too much here from RagnaroK. He's still holding strong in supply. He's cleaned up a lot of these forces, and as long as there's still Banelings and Mutalisks left, these Marines are going to have a really rough time.
Yep, there's still 7 or like a couple of Banelings left in the mix. There is a bunker that's going to help Polt to buy a little bit of time. RagnaroK definitely doing a lot of work, but he needs to do a crazy amount of work with this push. Perhaps even being game ending. Right now it's 75 army supply against 45. For now this base will be evacuated, so a lot of SCVs will fall, but he needs to do still a tiny bit more than he has done so far.
And those Widowmines actually helping RagnaroK break through Polt's last line of defense that is naturally 3rd base has been forfeit. He has the 4th command center, but this has been a really tough position for Polt. Mutalisk is going to pick it off.
Wow, that is a massive pickup. That is exactly what RagnaroK needed there. Doing a lot of economic damage and even picking up the base. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to end the game over here. Army supply, it's still very, very even, but picking up that orbital, that is massive. That's really what he needed though, Nate. Don't you agree?
Yeah, you need to slow Polt down. The most important part of Terran versus Zerg, when you're playing in these positions, when you're playing with this setup, just straight Marine Mine Medevac versus Zergling Baneling Mutalisk, that 4th base is so important. Despite how close RagnaroK's 4th is to where Polt had his 3rd, he still has it mining, and because he's been so aggressive, because he's done so much damage to Polt, it's very difficult for the Terran player to get on the aggressive himself.
Mutalisk are going to fly into the natural pick of a missile turret. Might be able to get a few SCVs there as well, but there are a few Marines. I love what Polt is doing over here. He's going to try to intercept these Mutalisks. Gets 2, 3. That's pretty good. Three Mutalisks for a missile turret. Why not?
Not bad at all. These Zerglings are going to come around, surround the Marines. Widowmine shots really not getting too much for Polt this game, and RagnaroK, he still has a supply lead. This extra command center's moved over. Baneling's being morphed right next to it.
There is nothing here, no supply depots, no bunkers, so it's going to be relatively tough. Here come the Banelings rolling forward. So far 6 splits by Polt though, so he should be able to hang in there. But he can't afford to lose this command center.
Another command center for Polt being destroyed by the Mutalisks, and RagnaroK, he, as one of the least known players in this group, is taking down good player after good player. He's eliminated Hyun, and you know what? Polt, this first game, he's still alive, but RagnaroK has been looking fantastic in this series.
First the snipe on the orbital, then the snipe on the command center. From this point on, I don't even know what Polt is supposed to do anymore. He's going to try to attack, try to make something happen, but yeah, he is up in army supply, but by the time they will really fight, RagnaroK will push out so many units. Don't do that though, RagnaroK. He's going to lose 4 or 5 Mutalisks almost for nothing.
That's not the alleyway you want to fly down, Roddy.
No, that was a dangerous one. There's turbulence in the air.
And there's still a lot of creep spread here, though. These Banelings have a good opportunity to get damage done. RagnaroK holding strong, up about 40, 50 supply. Keep in mind, though, most of that supply difference is in SCVs. 37 workers to 78 drones. There is an army lead for RagnaroK, but if he gives Polt too much leeway, if he bleeds out too many Mutalisks, there's still an opportunity because, I mean, Polt's one of the few guys that I would actually give a chance in this situation because he's so hard to kill when he's behind.
His income is just almost non-existent. Polt currently only mining 1,100 minerals a minute. That is not what you want. You want to be up to 2,000. You want to pump out so many Marines. He will be able still to queue up 11 Marines, but without a third or without a fourth base even, I don't really see how Polt is going to claw his way back into this game. I'm afraid this is just going to be a little too much Zerg as the armies are engaging again on the left side of the map. Banelings will get some reasonable connections with these Marines. The splits are beautiful, but it's just an unfair battle, man. It's sweeping leaves on a windy day, Nate. And all the leaves are Zerglings and Mutalisks. That's scary.
You can split your Marines as well as you want, but if you only have 10 of them, it's still hard to kill 20 Banelings. These Mutas are going to fly into this Marine little squad. So, I mean, Polt's getting a couple of pickoffs here and there, but this is the kind of stuff that's really nice when you're even. When you're far behind, you need to actually just kill all the Mutalisks for free at this point. And he's got his 5th base in the top right. The Mutas are in his main. And look at this. He has shift-clicked all the add-ons. He's going to shut down Polt's production completely.
I love how he's doing that as well. Like Polt just like send his natural to the turret and send his main to the 4th base. This orbital is taking quite a bit of damage. There should be some Marines out there to save it. At the same time, RagnaroK is going to ravage the economy once more of Polt. He's playing some beautiful ZVT.
Yeah, RagnaroK has played this game so damn well. From the opening Roach play to this this good control, GG is called, and RagnaroK, our Zerg player, will take game number 1 in this best of 3.
That was pretty convincing in the end. I was really quite worried for him after he lost that 4th base and he lost a lot of his creep in the middle of the map, especially with the unit composition that he was aiming for. I was like, if he doesn't make something happen soon, we're going to see 160, 170 supply of Terran army, and off creep that is just not going to die against the unit composition that RagnaroK had. But he attacked on the right moment, above all was able to kill a lot of the SCVs, and he got the orbital command, and that's really where things started looking up for him.
Yeah, you know, when you look at the way that Polt played, he was very aggressive. He managed to stay on RagnaroK's side of the field and try to pick off those creep tumors. But it comes to a point where those roaches they were surprisingly useful in those fights. They soaked up a ton of damage, allowed, even though he didn't kill Polt completely when he attacked the 3rd base, it bought him time for the Zerglings to get into his mineral line. And once you clear out the 3rd base, once you force the lift off on that command center, let alone kill it, that's when the Terran player starts to get worried because RagnaroK took his 4th base and no trouble.
Did you find it surprising that Polt dropped his turret at the location that he did it? Or would you say, like, normally you always want to do that because you want to be closer to the Zerg, you want to have that staging ground to move forward. But I think it's safe to say that if Polt's command center would have been on the lower ground, on the right side where you normally take the fort, I don't think he would have lost it in that phase in the game.
I don't think it would have been as vulnerable of a target to the Mutalisks, but as a Terran player, you like to rally towards the Zerg opponent because it's all about putting non-stop pressure. It's about being as aggressive as you can throughout the entirety of the game. And yeah, you can try to take the safer base towards the bottom, but even then, like, how much safer is it? If your forces don't rally past it, it makes it easier for Zergling run-bys to deal damage. Some of those roaches could have been thrown. And how many times have we seen where Zerg players can buy themselves back into a game with just a couple of Banelings to break down the one bunker that's usually left behind to hold it, and suddenly your 3rd base is cleared out?
Either way, Polt only dropping his second map so far in this tournament. He was 8-1 before this series. Now he's 8-2. Still very impressive and definitely can still win this series. As our second map is going to be played on King Sejong Station. Should be a reasonable map for Polt as well. We've seen him play some phenomenal TVZ on this map. I don't think he has that much to worry about. I really felt that the game was going pretty good for Polt. I think he was just slightly caught off guard by how many units RagnaroK was throwing at him. And even though we're watching a macro game and we're seeing a Zerg with 3 bases and a lot of units, it's weird to call it an all-in, but that attack had to do a lot of damage. Because if he doesn't crush Polt there's no way that he can take a losing engagement, because then things spiral out of control. Polt recollects himself, moves forward, there's no creep, and he's knocking on the front door of RagnaroK, and then you're going to have a really hard time with roaches and banelings.
I'm excited to see how RagnaroK switches it up for game 2, guys. We're going to have a very short break before we move into this next map, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Major League Gaming's Anaheim StarCraft 2 Tournament 2014.